Top national story this hour from ABC News. Federal Reserve has announced another cut in interest rates. This one is 0.25%. It follows a 0.5% cut in September. Inflation across the country has been running close to the Fed's 2% target. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up again now, 29 points right now. The NASDAQ has been up all day. It's now up 287 points. And our KSL weather. We've got sunshine today and tomorrow, but it's going to stay pretty chilly. That's next. KSL News Time 101.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the nines, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Hi, my name is Kendon Holdaway, and I work for the National Kidney Foundation of Utah and Idaho. Before that, I worked as a dialysis technician at the largest dialysis center in Utah. And before that, I was diagnosed with chronic kidney disease at age 14. However, I am one of the lucky ones. I have an amazing mother who gave me a second chance. She donated her kidney to me, and it changed my life. Thanks to her and a scholarship from the Kidney Foundation, I was able to graduate college, get married, and apply to medical school in hopes of becoming a doctor. Sadly, there are many who are not as lucky as I am. Every car you donate to towcars.org gives hope and help to 3,000 patients like me, many of whom are still waiting for their miracle. Towing is free and donations are tax deductible. Keep donations local by donating online at towkars.org. That's towcars with a K. Like kidney.
Jim Weber is here from Foothill Oriental Rugs, where the semi-annual sale is underway now. Jim, describe the variety of rugs people will find when they come into your store.
We really have Utah's most complete selection, from contemporary to tribal to vegetable-dyed Afghan goods are doing really well right now. They're rich, jewel-tone colors made with vegetable dyes, and the designs are a little bit tribal, so they have a little bit of a tribal geometric edge to them, and really popular right now.
Describe what a difference it makes to have a beautiful rug in your home.
Maria, it's like a piece of art on your floor, and it will set the tone for the room. It's a handmade textile that will wear like iron, and you might want to take 2 or 3 pieces and try them, and once you get it in the room, you'll know if it's right or not. We want our customers to love what they end up with, and it's critical to see it in the space.
Don't miss out. Get your home ready for the holidays now. The semi-annual sale is underway early this year. You will find rugs up to 70% off. Foothill Oriental Rugs, 1460 South Foothill Drive, just south of Foothill Village.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meese.
It's a delay-free drive on the Valley freeways. We are in the final cleanup stages of the small accident in Draper, northbound I-15, 146 South. This holiday season, Murdoch Chevrolet is grateful for you. Take up to $5,000 off a Silverado heavy-duty or 1.9% for 6 years on a Silverado light-duty. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
We're sunny but cool with highs in the 40s today and tomorrow, then a warming trend. Peaks on Monday with highs in the 60s. And right now, 45 degrees and sunny. I'm Dan Bomis from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
The headlines, of course, over the last 24 hours has been that the race has been called and concessions have been made. Yesterday at just about this time, Vice President Kamala Harris gave her concession speech on the campus of Howard University in Washington, D.C., her alma mater. And it was a great speech. It actually was really well done. Earlier today, President Joe Biden delivered a sort of concession speech in that he was not really on the ballot, but he still had a few things to say about the election, the loss for the Democratic Party and for his vice president as she attempted to take his place and succeed him as president. But we're going to get underneath some of those because I have always felt that we should think again about concession speeches. They are often not big headlines, but maybe we should think again because the one thing we know for sure, they are usually very revealing. Let's begin.
Think you know the news of the day? Think again with Boyd Matheson on KSL News Radio.
As we roll through this Thursday here on Inside Sources, of course, a lot of the finger pointing and placing of blame is happening inside of the Democratic Party. Republicans are celebrating. The president-elect is starting his transition process, 74 days to Inauguration Day. And so you have about 4,000 appointments that need to be made and people that need to be confirmed in hearings within the Senate. There's a host of things going on. But as we always say on this show, we're equal opportunity offenders for those who do it wrong or make the mistake or need to be held accountable. And we're also equal opportunity commenders when people get it right and deliver the right message in the right way. And so as many Democrats have been feeling upset and even a little frightened or discouraged about what happened in the election, there is cause for hope. And I thought it was significant today that President Biden spoke to the nation, spoke to Democrats in particular, those on his side of the political aisle, and gave a message that I thought was very good and very powerful. We also commended as we carried the vice president's concession speech yesterday. It was one of her best speeches. And I've always believed that there are just these moments that become very real, very raw, very authentic. And it's interesting, those who know how to give a speech in defeat, not just one when you're victorious. And because of that, and because of the way President Biden conducted himself today and the message that he delivered, I actually want to play it in its entirety. It is not a long speech. It's under 6 minutes in length, but there are important messages for all of us in the United States of America. Whether you feel like you're on the winning side or the losing side, this is not a left or right. This is not an up or down. This is a forward. This is a forward conversation we need to have. And I think President Biden created space for all of us to step forward. Take a listen to his address today from the Rose Garden.
For over 200 years, America has carried out the greatest experiment in self-government in the history of the world. And that's not hyperbole, that's a fact. We're the people. The people vote and choose their own leaders, and they do it peacefully. And we're in a democracy. The will of the people always prevails. Yesterday, I spoke with President-elect Trump to congratulate him on his victory. And I assured him that I direct my entire administration to work with his team to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition. That's what the American people deserve. Yesterday, I also spoke with Vice President Harris. She's been a partner and a public servant. She ran an inspiring campaign, and everyone got to see something that I learned early on to respect so much: her character. She has a backbone like a ramrod. She has great character, true character. She gave her whole heart and effort, and she and her entire team should be proud of the campaign they ran. You know, the struggle for the soul of America, since our very founding, has always been an ongoing debate and still vital today. I know for some people, it's a time for victory, to state the obvious. For others, it's a time of loss. Campaigns are contests of competing visions. The country chooses one or the other. We accept the choice the country made. I've said many times, you can't love your country only when you win. You can't love your neighbor only when you agree. Something I hope we can do, no matter who you voted for, is see each other not as adversaries, but as fellow Americans. Bring down the temperature. I also hope we can lay to rest the question about the integrity of the American electoral system. It is honest, it is fair, and it is transparent. And it can be trusted, win or lose. I also hope we can restore the respect for all our election workers who busted their necks and took risks at the outset. We should thank them. Thank them for staffing voting sites, counting the votes, protecting the very integrity of the election. Many of them are volunteers who do it simply out of love for their country. And as they did their duty as citizens, I will do my duty as president. I'll fulfill my oath, and I will honor the Constitution. On January 20th, we'll have a peaceful transfer of power here in America. To all our incredible staff, supporters, cabinet members, all the people who've been hanging out with me for the last 4 years, God love you, as my mother would say. Thank you so much. You put so much into the past 4 years. I know it's a difficult time. You're hurting. I hear you and I see you. But don't forget all that we accomplished. It's been a historic presidency. Not because I'm president, because what we've done, what you've done. A presidency for all Americans. Much of the work we've done is already being felt by the American people, but the vast majority of it will not be felt over the next 10 years. We have legislation we passed that's just only now just really kicking in. We're going to see over $1 trillion worth of infrastructure work done, changing people's lives in rural communities and communities that are in real difficulty because it takes time to get it done. And so much more. It's going to take time, but it's there. The road ahead is clear, assuming we sustain it. There's so much we can get done and will get done based on the way the legislation was passed. And it's truly historic. You know, we're leaving behind the strongest economy in the world. I know people are still hurting, but things are changing rapidly. Together, we've changed America for the better. Now we have 74 days to finish the term, our term. Let's make every day count. That's the responsibility we have to the American people. Look, folks, you all know it in your lives. Setbacks are unavoidable, but giving up is unforgivable. Setbacks are unavoidable, but giving up is unforgivable. We all get knocked down, but the measure of our character, as my dad would say, is how quickly we get back up. Remember, a defeat does not mean we are defeated. We lost this battle. The America of your dreams is calling for you to get back up. That's the story of America for over 240 years and counting. It's a story for all of us, not just some of us. The American experiment endures. We're going to be okay, but we need to stay engaged. We need to keep going. And above all, we need to keep the faith. I'm so proud to have worked with all of you. I really mean it. I sincerely mean it. God bless you all. God bless America. And may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
President Joe Biden today from the Rose Garden, just outside the White House. One of his best speeches. And true, I have disagreed with President Biden on a wide range of policy issues. A lot of executive orders that I really disagreed with, mostly because I disagree with almost all executive orders. And today, he delivered the right message, that this place we call America is the greatest experiment in self-government the world has ever known. And it's still rolling, 240 years and rolling on. I thought it was also important that the president pointed to the integrity of the elections, the transparency that took place, and all the things that were predicted in terms of violence and protest demonstrations that were predicted, all the foreign interference that was anticipated. None of it came to fruition. Why? Because the American people stood up and the institutions held. And that should give us great confidence moving forward. And yes, there are winners and losers in elections. And failing and being frustrated with that is understandable, but as the president said, giving up is unforgivable. Really echoing the words of Vice President Harris from her concession speech yesterday, saying this is not a time to throw up your hands. This is the time to roll up your sleeves and continue the debate and continue the conversation and elevate it to new places. Let's explore new possibilities of how we understand one another better, how we get to better solutions, and a better and brighter future for the country. We'll be right back.
Think again on Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson. Polls are done. The hard work is finished. A nation divided settles its differences. The BYU-Utah rivalry game.
Touchdown, BYU!
This weekend, listen to Cougar Sports Saturday at noon and the BYU-Utah kickoff at 8:15 on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio.
Lowe's knows you want to get even more value for the holiday. That's why as a MyLowe's Rewards member, you get new member deals on holiday decor, tools, and more. And you earn points when you shop. More points equal more rewards to help you save on holiday and more. Not a member? Join for free today at Lowe's.com/MyLowe'sRewards because Lowe's knows deals. Program subject to terms and conditions. Points are awarded on eligible purchases. See Lowe's.com/terms for full details. Subject to change.
If you need bold banners to boost your business, but you're on a budget, think Staples. Because now at Staples, you can save up to $50 on your print purchase. From posters and flyers to signs and menus, Staples can print anything you need to move your business forward. And with Staples Print Perfect Guarantee, it's done right or it's printed again free. Plus, same-day service is available on hundreds of items if you order by noon. Get it printed right at Staples. And now get up to $50 off your print purchase. N76, visit staples.com/print for details.
This Friday, join KSL News Radio and NPS from 10 to 1 as the movie show stops by. Then, browse and uncover what makes NPS so great. With 4 locations, NPS takes a new inventory every day. Then, they check all competitors' retail pricing before marking items down 20 to 70% off. You're invited to visit the movie show this Friday from 10 to 1. And that's the first step to discovering NPS. Visit npsstore.com to begin your own NPS adventure. npsstore.com.
Food brings people together, but many families don't know where their next meal is coming from. In Utah, 317,000 people, many of whom are children, are struggling with food insecurity. And Macy's is continuing the tradition of bringing hope to families in need. You can help provide hope by donating to Macy's Harvest of Hope Drive, now through November 30th. All donations will be donated to a local food bank to serve families in our communities. Purchase an icon for any amount or a prepackaged bag of food with items that food pantries need most at any Macy's store or online at Macys.com. Look for items tagged with the Harvest of Hope icon throughout the store. A portion of sales from those items will also be donated to local food pantries. Together, we can make a difference in our communities and provide hope to families and children facing food insecurity. Visit Macys.com or your local Macy's grocery store to learn more.
Don't let cold season make you miserable. Try the quick, drug-free solution for nasal congestion, Navage. Navage uses gentle suction to flush out your sinuses with refreshing saline, helping you breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier all winter long. And here's even better news. Navage is now available at select Costco locations in a great new value pack. It's everything you need to start breathing better fast. Check out Navage at your local Costco today. Navage, Navage, breathe easy.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money. But do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At Capital Wealth Advisors, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the Capital Wealth Advisors team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 801-210-5500. That's 801-210-5500. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. Capital Wealth Advisors, 801-210-5500. Advisory services offered through Capital Wealth Advisors, LLC, a state of Utah registered investment advisor. Firm may not give tax advice.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, South Jordan police aren't yet releasing the name of the 15-year-old who died when a house exploded and caught fire. Second, several of the football coaches for BYU and Utah worked in the programs for both teams. And third, the Federal Reserve has announced another 0.25% cut in interest rates. 45 degrees and sunny right now. Back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Hear elevated conversation on crucial issues. Boyd Matheson on Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. It's great to be with you today. As always, I am Boyd Matheson. And, of course, as we look at the fallout from Tuesday's election, one of the things that still has not been decided is control of the House of Representatives. As we discussed before the election, it was likely to be decisive, and it was likely to end up with divided government. The American people seem to like that these days, and I'm not opposed to it in most of these cases. But as we look at the House of Representatives, still up in the air, there are still paths for both Republicans and for the Democrats to be in control of the House, and that may be one of the Democrats' best chances to provide that check and balance to the incoming Trump administration. Someone who's been taking a deep look at that, a great friend of the show, Eric Boehm, reporter at Reason, covers economic policy, trade policy, and the election, has a great piece at Reason.com about those very House Democrats and their best chance to be a little check on power. Eric, welcome back to the show.
Glad to be here, Boyd. Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's dive into this. I'm one of those who we complain about gridlock, but sometimes gridlock is just a really good guardrail. Are the Democrats, what's their path? What does that look like? And what could they do if they are able to grab that gavel in the House of Representatives?
Yeah, that path is getting narrow. Actually, just while I was waiting to come on with you here, the New York Times updated their count here. Now 210 Republican seats secure in the House. 197 for the Democrats is what they have. The AP, I think, is a couple. They have a couple more Democratic seats called, but the Times hasn't called yet. But either way, 210 for the Republicans. That's the important number. 218, of course, is the threshold you need for a majority in the House. So they are closing in. There's still, 30 or so races where votes are being counted. There may be some recounts, things like that. It looks like at the moment, it looks like it'll be a slim Republican majority, probably right about the majority that they've had the last few years, if I had to guess. But we'll find out in a couple of weeks. And if so, to your point, that means the Republicans, they took the Senate, they took the White House, means they would potentially have all three of the important policymaking levers there in Washington. And, I don't know if the first 2 years of the first Trump administration was any indication, that means you're going to see big spending rather than any sort of constraints on government, because that's what happens when Republicans get all three things lined up, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. And you get this from a sense of history that when President Barack Obama had all the levers of power there, the two chambers plus the White House, things went a little sideways there, and they ended up getting kind of a little bit of a slap back in the midterms. The same thing happened with former President Trump, now President-elect Trump. What do you see in terms of that, and why is it that even when they think they have all the levers of power, they don't seem to quite use them the way we think they might use them?
Yeah, I think it's just too tempting to get everything done, right? When you have, we see this in states too. We see, when state governments get a trifecta, as they call it, sometimes you see a lot of policy get passed all at once, stuff that's been kind of bottled up over the years. It's a little bit harder because so much of what happens in D.C. happens through the executive branch. You don't necessarily see that like flood of new policies come through Congress when you get a trifecta in there, but you do get the chance to do at least like one big thing is usually the case, right? I mean, you mentioned Obama, that we got Obamacare. That was the big thing that Democrats were able to do when they had that trifecta in the early 2000s or in the 2008. And then you had the Republicans doing the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. Ironically enough, as it all shakes out here, big portions of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act expire next year, and so you're going to have once again President Donald Trump there overseeing the process to either extend or change or reconfigure those tax cuts that he passed and signed in 2017. And you're going to have, it looks like, a Republican Senate and Republican House dealing with it again. Of course, it's kind of a different generation of Republicans than we had in D.C. in 2017. But, as it works out here, Republicans will get a chance to extend kind of their most recent big signature policy issue.
Yeah, and as you look at that, one of the things that always comes to my mind is that restraint always works, and yet it's rarely deployed in the halls of power back there, and even in the context of who's in control of the House. So interesting in terms of that subpoena power, that oversight authority that rests in the House. And yet, even when a party has had an opportunity to just be that check and balance, it seems like they can't restrain themselves to really just make it, impossible going after the opposition, those that are in power in the Senate and the White House. Where are we getting sideways on all of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody who has some consternation about the second Trump administration or concerns about, where that might go with regard to civil liberties, with regard to deportations, with regard to free speech issues and going after broadcast licenses, I mean, whatever it is that you're concerned about on that front, and I have many of those concerns, I think you would want to see the Democrats somehow find a way to get across the threshold here to 218 and have the majority in the House because, you look at, as you just mentioned, I mean, the subpoena power, the investigatory power, lots of stuff that comes with that, the power to control the purse strings, that's, somewhat diminished in some ways these days because executive branch agencies have so much power themselves, but the ability of the House to cut off funding for certain things, for certain programs, the border wall was the great example kind of in the first Trump administration. Once Democrats retook the House, they kind of curtailed the funding for that. Those types of things, having an opposition party controlling the House does kind of put the brakes on what an administration might be able to do. And with a conservative majority in the Supreme Court, I think there's probably some justified concern, although I think the Supreme Court will continue to be somewhat independent here and will continue to act as a check. But I think there is justified concern that maybe that won't be the big hurdle that it might have been in the first Trump administration. And so it looks like all the dominoes do kind of line up here if Republicans can win the House to where there may not be a real strong, inside the government check on what Trump can do and what the Republicans can do.
Yeah, and hopefully that Supreme Court does stay independent. That's been an important check, really, on Democrat and Republican administrations who have said, hey, I'll do it with a cell phone and a pen. And the Supreme Court says, no, that's not quite your job, or no, that's way out of bounds for you. And we've seen that back and forth, and hopefully that portion of the program holds as well. Anything else you're keeping your eye on as we kind of let all the dust settle coming out of the 2024 cycle?
A couple really, one of the interesting things to me as somebody who's not really a partisan either way, and I find, I'm a libertarian, I like the third-party candidates, I like the upstart people. So one thing that I've been watching in some of these races is where you've got a real close race where a third-party candidate might actually cover the spread between the two major party candidates. That may happen in my original home state of Pennsylvania where I was born and raised. That Senate race right now is super close. Yeah. About 30,000 votes there, and the Libertarian candidate in that race has over 80,000 votes. So he's covered the spread. Out west by where you guys are in the Nevada Senate race, similar thing. Nevada puts on their ballot none of the above option. And as of the last time I looked about an hour ago, the none of the above option had more votes than the spread between the two major party candidates, the Republican amazing. And the Democrat. So that always, that always makes me smile, at least.
Yeah.
So those races that are still there that are obviously quite interesting. And, whichever way the House ends up going, we've just got another update here. So it's now 210 to 197. The Democrats just picked up a seat in the time we've been talking. There's still some things to sort out, but it's been a crazy week.
Yeah, absolutely. Eric Boehm, best of the best, reporter at Reason, covers economic policy, trade policy, and the elections. And Eric, always been one of our favorites on the show. Always. Thanks for making time for us.
Thanks so much, Boyd. Always appreciated talking to you. Thanks so much.
All right. That's Eric Boehm joining us from Reason. You can check out his piece at reason.com. We'll step aside for some bottom-of-the-hour news. More Inside Sources coming up next. Stick around.
It's 1:31 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour, the state of Utah cracking down on unlicensed contractors. The Division of Professional Licensing's chief investigator, Bob Main, says the violators are turned over to law enforcement, who also then follow up with victims.
And the cost to go after a individual, the attorney fees might outweigh what they could possibly get back, and there's no guarantee they're going to get it back.
They conducted the sting last month, issuing 77 citations with fines of around $130,000. Maine says many of the violations were found with just one construction company. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Federal Reserve has announced a 0.25% cut in interest rates. Jerome Powell is Fed chairman.
In the near term, the election will have no effects on our policy decisions.
Powell says the economy is strong overall. They've made progress toward keeping inflation at their target of 2%. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average up on the day right now, 59 points, while the NASDAQ is still rising, up 302 right now. And our KSL weather, we've got sunshine, but it's still pretty chilly. That's next. KSL News Time, 1:32.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
We're about to enter the most wonderful time of the year, and this is the perfect time to join SOTA Weight Loss. That's SOTA, S-O-T-A, stands for state-of-the-art weight loss. It's time to start your journey with SOTA's amazing holiday special. They're offering the biggest savings of the entire year. So imagine going into the holidays feeling fit and confident, ringing in the new year, 2025, in the best shape of your life. Now's the time. Don't wait for a New Year's resolution in January. Get a new you right now. The time for me started 3 years ago when I lost 37 pounds in 90 days, and here I am 3 years later, still right on target and feeling great. No time to lose, only time to win, folks, when it comes to your SOTA weight loss journey. So enter the holiday season with a little less stress and a little more energy and vitality. Check it out at SOTA Weight Loss. That's state-of-the-art weight loss. Find it today at sotaweightloss.com.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other, so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals, and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a simple management fee based on the value of your portfolio, so we do better when you do better.
We appreciate that kind of transparency.
We also check in with you regularly to keep you up to date on the markets and your portfolio.
What other services do you offer?
As a client, you have access to resources on investing, financial planning, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, and more.
Wow, it sounds like Fisher Investments has everything we need.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon Here's Ricky Meeks.
We just had some slowdown southbound I-15 between 33rd and 45th, but whatever was causing it looks like that's easing. The final cleanup of a crash at 800 South and Main Street and a report of an accident 3100 South, 2200 West. Advanced Window Products, $2,500 off 10 windows or more. AdvancedWindows.com. Affordable windows guaranteed. Ricky Meeks in the KSL Traffic Center.
Weather will be sunny but cool with highs in the 40s today and tomorrow. A warming trend will peak on Monday with highs in the 60s. And right now, 45 degrees and sunny. I'm Dan Bomitz from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Well, in a week like this, following an election that we have been in, it's always important to remember we've been here before. We've had contentious elections. We've had contested elections before. We've had division in the country before. And so we know what to do. It's like when you fall down in the big black hole and someone jumps in and says, it's okay, I know the way out. We know the way out. And as we often do, we turn to history. The words of Abraham Lincoln delivered during a time of immense division and conflict in our nation. He offered profound wisdom that is strikingly relevant today, not surprising. As the country grapples with the deep political and social rifts, Lincoln's call for malice towards none and a spirit of reconciliation truly provides a guiding light for all of us if we'll step into it. So can the timeless principles of charity and humility and a pragmatic commitment to progress together help us navigate the turbulent times? Michael Zuckert is the Nancy Reeves Drew Professor Emeritus of Political Science at the University of Notre Dame and a clinical professor at Arizona State University. Has a brilliant piece at the Dispatch today, Is Malice Towards None Enough? And Professor Zuckert, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
So as you looked at this, and again, as we look in a little bit of the close rearview mirror in terms of this election cycle, there are really some great lessons. Kind of walk us through as you approach this in terms of what is it? Obviously, this is not about just a kumbaya moment and a big old group hug as a nation. There's more to it. I love the way you got underneath it. Unpack that for us.
Well, the paper you were referring to, I put together before the election, of course. And the question I wanted to ask was, well, does Lincoln have any words of wisdom, guidance for us in this very polarized time that we live through? And as we were approaching an election which I and many others thought was one of the most divisive, perhaps the most divisive since the Civil War itself. So my question was, does these golden sentences that some of what you quoted at the top of the show, do these golden sentences have any guidance for us today? Of course, they were written in his second inaugural address, which was delivered right at the end of the Civil War. And they were looking forward to the Reconstruction period. That is, how can we bring the country together after this terrible war? And Lincoln himself had a very conciliatory policy, that is, very little punitive approach to the rebels, protection for the freedmen, but not turning government over to them, that is trying to reintegrate the Southerners into their own self-government after the war, and so on, things like that. Didn't turn out the way Lincoln hoped it would. I think Reconstruction turned out to be much harsher and much less successful than he was aiming for. And the main reason, or at least one reason, I should say, was because he was assassinated more or less about a month after he gave this speech. So he never had a chance really to try to lead us on the path that he had laid out for us. But I did then go on to say in this paper that Lincoln earlier had somewhat of a similar approach to the issues of slavery and so on that were so important in the lead up to the war. And I raised the question, well, how successful was that approach, this approach of conciliation and no malice and so on? How successful was that in the period leading up to the war? And my sad conclusion was not very. but let me give an example of the way Lincoln spoke in the years before the war with respect to the really most divisive issue, of course, which was slavery. He said the following: before proceeding, let me say that I have no prejudice against the Southern people. They are just what we would be in their situation. If slavery did not now exist among them, they would not introduce it. If it did not now exist among us, we should not instantly give it up. This, I believe, of the masses, North and South. And I mean that, the spirit of no malice, I think, is breathed through that. On the one hand, he had firm commitment to trying to control the spread of slavery and ultimately to see it depart entirely from the country. But this is the spirit of conciliation and lack of malice, I think, is very, very present here.
Yeah.
So I raised the question, can this help us today? And so I first had to ask the question, why did this fail? Because when Lincoln was elected president, his mere presence as president was taken by the South as an indication that things were intolerable for them, and so that we needed a national divorce in order for them to go forward. So I tried to press the question, well, why was that so? And long story short, my answer was, well, it had to do with the nature of the issue, slavery. As Lincoln saw, it was a kind of either all slave or all free. That was the choice we faced. With any policy that would have satisfied the Southerners would have led, he believed, almost inevitably to a country that was all slave, not a happy solution, as certainly as he saw it. I think that most of us would see it. So I asked the question, well, do we in our time face as a zero sum, that is an either or question like slavery was? That is our situation all slave or all free, or some equivalent to that? And in my opinion, no, we don't face that. The issues that we face, if we think of the issues that were really front and center in this election, the issue of inflation, is that an all slave or all free issue? No, it's not. Wow. The issue of immigration, is that an all slave or all free issue? No, it's certainly not. So it seemed to me that we have a possibility of overcoming the kind of fragmentation and polarization that we face, because the issues that really divide us, the issues that we're really agitated about, are not as severe as the issues that Lincoln faced. So we have more hope.
Yeah.
All right. But alas, I concluded in my paper that goodwill and this kind of attitude isn't always enough. And my main conclusion was, well, Biden didn't get us there. There were certain failings in his leadership, and I said, we're not going to get there with Trump. That was my main conclusion of the paper, and I'm not sure how well that bodes, but here we are. We have to see how he does.
Yeah, and I love that you actually concluded with, I think, what is the absolute answer. And while we may not get that perfect response from those in the White House, it really is about leadership, and especially on those manageable issues, and that's going to happen much closer to home. And this is one of those where I think community and culture is going to have to lead, and ultimately those politicians will choose to follow because it will be in their best interest. Professor, thanks so much for joining us today. Fabulous piece. You can check out his piece at thedispatch.com. Again, Michael Zuckert, Emeritus Professor of Political Science at the University of Notre Dame, Clinical Professor at Arizona State University. And Professor, thanks for making time for us today.
Okay, thank you. Yep, bye.
All right, great perspective there. And one of the things I think is real vital in all of that, he talked about in his piece this idea of civility and charity, and how we have to ultimately get to the kind of charity that Lincoln was talking about to get the right kind of leadership we need so that we can all march forward together. We'll step aside for a quick break. More Inside Sources coming up next.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates. This weekend only, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Don't be worried. Be ready.
KSL News Radio has partnered with Be Ready Utah to provide the plans your family needs for an emergency, the tools and supplies to keep on hand, and the knowledge on how to keep a cool head.
It's Be Ready Utah. Listen to our show, Dave and Duchanovic, for Be Ready tips and tools.
Or you can always find the latest preparation info at BeReadyUtah.gov.
Be Ready Utah with KSL News Radio.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer? Can we sleep cooler? Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now, during our Veterans Day sale, save 40% on the Sleep Number Special Edition smart bed, plus free home delivery with any base. Ends Monday. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.
Get up to a 30% upfront bonus to use for your retirement income, or up to 12% per year to help grow your retirement income. Whether you're in retirement or will be retiring within 10 years, Trajan Wealth can offer some of the highest guarantees in the business. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and I know no one wants to work forever. We all need to retire someday, and I know you've worked hard for your money, so now is the time to guarantee it. Take advantage of up to a 30% upfront bonus for your retirement income, or up to 12% per year for retirement income. Don't woulda, shoulda, coulda. Get up to a 30% bonus just for opening an account, or up to 12% per year for retirement income. Don't leave your retirement to chance. Retire the right way, the Trajan way, with Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600. That's 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. DBA in most states as Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. I want to tell you about our famous "You Don't Need a Warranty" warranty. That's right. It's a warranty you don't need, but we give it to you anyway. Let me explain. Most warranty problems for siding, gutters, and windows are caused by not installing stuff right in the first place. If you rush the work, cut corners, or use subpar materials, you're just begging for problems later. At RGS Exteriors, we don't tolerate careless workmanship. We slow down, focus on every detail, and use only the best materials. We prevent warranty work by doing the job right in the first place. That's why the 10-year everything guarantee we give you is also known as our "You Don't Need a Warranty" warranty. We absolutely will be there if you need to use it. But honestly, you probably will never have to. Done right the first time. That's the RGS way. For siding, gutters, and windows, call 801-280-3110 or visit us at rgsexteriors.com.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the state of Utah has been cracking down on unlicensed contractors. Second, the Federal Reserve cut interest rates again today, with Chair Jerome Powell saying the election had no effect on its policy decisions. Third, tickets to the BYU-Utah game pretty pricey, if you can find one at all. 45 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. And back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Get deeper insights on the news from inside sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. It's great to be with you today. As always, I am Boyd Matheson. As we look at the control of power in Congress, the Republicans, of course, have flipped Senate majority control into the Republican column. The final tally is not quite done, but we do know they'll have at least 52 votes and could have 53 or maybe even 54, depending on some of these races. And with current leader Mitch McConnell retiring, there will be a new majority leader in the United States Senate, and that's quite an interesting process. And we want to look at what that will mean, the impact that'll have on an incoming Trump administration. And as we always have on this show, when it comes to all things Senate, we turn to great friend of the show and an extraordinary human being, James Wallner, Senior Fellow at the R Street Institute. And James, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me. Always good to be back.
All right. Give us a sense of, one, what this is going to mean for the Republicans first, just to get back in the majority. It's been a minute, and they have lived under the Chuck Schumer regime there as the leader of the Democrats in the Senate. What is this going to mean for Republicans to be back in control, particularly with a Republican in the White House? And then let's talk about the transition from a Mitch McConnell-style leadership and who comes next.
Well, I think there's two ways that Republicans winning the Senate can really help the newly elected former president, soon-to-be current president, Donald Trump, enact his agenda. The first way is by confirming his nominees to serve in high positions in the cabinet and also in a lot of other positions in the executive branch, and as has been front and center in recent weeks, months, and years, the Supreme Court and the federal judiciary. And ever since Republicans and Democrats both took action to eliminate the judicial filibuster, there's very little that Democrats can do procedurally to stop Republicans from confirming Trump's judicial nominees if they are all united behind them.
Yeah, and I think that's so important. We've talked about that going back and forth, and what is that process? And there really isn't. It's one of those things with the filibusters. Like, it's great if you're if you're in power and you want to get rid of it and move things through quicker on your agenda. But there is always that pendulum snapback moment where suddenly you find yourself in the majority, wishing you had some sort of filibuster to rely on, maybe just to tap the brakes and slow things down just a little bit.
I think that's right. And the rules, the very rules that still say that you can filibuster judges, also are critical for lawmakers, rank and file lawmakers in both parties, to representing their constituents and achieving their goals. Without those rules, they don't have an ability to take action on behalf of their goals and try to win in big major debates in Congress. And I think that's a really important point, because if the rules have no meaning, it is basically the political version of brute force. Do you have the votes? Do you not? And where do you decide if you have the votes? Behind closed doors, where you have very little leverage, where the people can't see what's happening, and where the people can't come to your aid and support and help you to push and pressure your colleagues to support what they ostensibly say they would want to support in the first place.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look now at who's going to lead the Republicans. You had experience under a Mitch McConnell regime as the Republican leader in the Senate. You've worked with Senator Thune, one of those likely candidates, John Cornyn from Texas, a likely candidate, as well as Senator Scott from Florida, maybe as the dark horse outside candidate there. We know that Utah Senior Senator Mike Lee will be hosting a little forum with those candidates as part of the steering committee. You used to serve on the steering committee. What do you expect that conversation to sound like, and what do you expect to see in the coming days before they make that vote and select a new leader?
This is a major opportunity for the American people's representatives in the Senate to assess the situation, ask important questions, gather the needed information, and then make a decision that the American people have made this week as to who they want to support to do a job on their behalf, because the leaders ultimately work for the rank and file. And that job is critical, because I would suggest to your listeners, there's two ways to think about the leadership. One is, can we get a leader that agrees with me so that we can get everything we want? We can, in my case, maybe get rid of mosquitoes. We got a lot of mosquitoes where I live, and I don't like mosquitoes. I know they probably have a point. But if we could get rid of them, that would be great. And if we have all control of all the government, why not? But that's not the right way to think about the leader, because the leader doesn't have the power to do that, nor should anybody in the United States Senate, right? So the better way to think about it is the leader going to help ensure that there is a process in place in major debates when issues that your constituents care about comes up, so that you have an opportunity to have a say in the process, so that you have an opportunity to force votes that can show not only your constituents, but your colleagues' constituents where all of the senators stand on the key issues, so that the American people themselves can ultimately be better informed. And the leader can play a major role in that, and that is one that Mitch McConnell for years fought to keep that process shut down so that we couldn't get that kind of information.
Yeah, and I think that's will be the interesting line of questioning that will take place amongst these senators is what is the process going to be? How we're going to have amendments being able to be offered or not be offered? Again, that was very much part of the McConnell leadership team was we're just going to shut that down and not allow any of that kind of debate or that kind of hard votes sometimes to be done. I am going to support you 100% on the Anti-Mosquito Act, so we'll call it the new version of the AMA, of the Anti-Mosquito Act of America. Maybe that's what we'll call it.
I might even, this is dramatic breaking news, I might even support getting rid of the filibuster if it gets rid of mosquitoes. Now I know.
Wow, that would be breaking news, James. That's a big step for you.
I won't do it. I can't. I feel bad already.
It hurt you as you said it, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. I said it out loud. It sounded really good, but then out loud, I'm like,
can't go there. We got to keep the filibuster. That's important for the Senate for sure. As you've interacted with some of these candidates, Senator Thune, Senator Cornyn, Senator Scott, any of those seem to be leading out, or which one of those would we hope to have maybe for a little more policy-centric, a little less politics-centric version of the United States Senate?
Well, for leaders, I think a lot of the policy is going to be, or a lot is going to be driven by, or success on the policy front is going to be driven by their success on the political front. Mitch McConnell was very powerful amongst the Republican rank and file precisely because he was able to raise lots of money via the Senate Leadership Fund. And then he used that power and that influence to then drive a policy agenda that some conservatives and a lot of the American people, and certainly the president-elect, opposed on key issues like immigration, trade, and foreign policy. But in trying to better understand from the outside for your listeners this dynamic, this is a very inside baseball process. It always has been. Senators, this is a very personal decision. These conversations are one-on-one. They are happening between people who have known each other for decades or who just met each other but are looking to work together for at least almost a decade, if not longer. We have spouses and friends. They go on vacations together. They make commitments over the years. And Thune has been aggressively courting conservatives going back to when I was in the Senate, which was, I hate to say it, a long time ago. He's been working this for a very long time. Cornyn took a different approach. He has aligned himself, or did align himself as whip and then as a loyal lieutenant of Mitch McConnell. And that may be a complicating factor in his bid to reassure conservatives that he may govern the Senate or help to regulate and manage it in a different way. And then Scott is a bit of a dark horse because he doesn't have that same history, but he's been active in this space for a very long time and has challenged McConnell in the past and has made commitments and made promises in that challenge that he can revive again in this one.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Great perspective as always. The great James Wallner joining us from R Street Institute. James, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we'll step aside for some top-of-the-hour news. Hour number 2 of Inside Sources coming up next here on KSL News Radio. Stick around.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City. 2 days until the UCCU rivalry game, number 9 BYU versus Utah on KSL News Radio.
It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. South Jordan police say the person who died yesterday when a house exploded was a 15-year-old, a student at the Bingham High School. Counseling resources being offered now to families and students there, and there's a link to a GoFundMe page for the family at kslnewsradio.com. A church in Fruit Heights that volunteered to be a Code Blue shelter for the homeless has withdrawn that offer now after heavy pushback from locals.
We are grieved that the Code Blue Warming Center has become such a divisive and emotional issue.
That's Mountain Road Church pastor Don Kraft at a community meeting yesterday. Residents there voiced their disapproval of the church considering taking in the homeless on nights where it's forecasted to be 18 degrees or colder. Under state law, the county still needs to find a new Code Blue Center. That could wind up being the old Kaysville Emissions Building or the Clearfield Senior Center. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. There's a document the president-elect has to sign to allow background checks on incoming White House staff and other officials. Donald Trump hasn't signed it yet. Sources tell ABC News that limits on political contributions will kick in as soon as he does. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average is now down on the day, just about 0.8 of a point. The NASDAQ, though, has been up all day. It's up 285 points right now. And our KSL weather, look for some sunshine today and tomorrow, but it'll stay kind of chilly with temperatures in the 40s. That's next. KSL News Time, 2:01.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Bill Riley here with University of Utah head football coach Kyle Whittingham. Now tell me, Coach Whitt, what's your philosophy on a winning team?
I believe the key to winning is a strong offensive line. When the linemen do their job, nothing gets through to the quarterback, so he can do his job.
Well, what happens if the linemen don't do their job?
Ouch. You know, Bill, I recently learned that kidneys work like linemen for your body. When your kidneys work, they block poisons and chemicals from your blood.
Coach, I've heard that 1 in 9 Americans have some form of kidney disease. What can we do to fight back?
Join me, Coach Kyle Whittingham, and be part of the winning team against kidney disease. Donate your used car or truck to the Kidney Foundation. Your car will be towed for free, and you'll get a receipt for a tax deduction. Tell them how to do that, Bill.
Donate your car to the Kidney Foundation today and make your car a kidney car. Cars to save lives. Call 1-800-TOW-CARS. That's TOW CARS. Cars with a K. 1-800-TOW-CAR.
Every year, the National Kidney Foundation helps individuals and families affected by kidney disease. Help them out by making your car a kidney car. Call 1-800-TOW-CARS.
Food brings people together, but many families don't know where their next meal is coming from. In Utah, 317,000 people, many of whom are children, are struggling with food insecurity. And Macy's is continuing the tradition of bringing hope to families in need. You can help provide hope by donating to Macy's Harvest of Hope Drive, now through November 30th. All donations will be donated to a local food bank to serve families in our communities. Purchase an icon for any amount or a prepackaged bag of food with items that food pantries need most at any Macy's store or online at Macys.com. Look for items tagged with the Harvest of Hope icon throughout the store. A portion of sales from those items will also be donated to local food pantries. Together, we can make a difference in our communities and provide hope to families and children facing food insecurity. Visit Macys.com or your local Macy's grocery store to learn more.
This holiday season, join the Bells at Temple Square for their annual fall concert, A Season of Ringing. Friday and Saturday, November 22nd and 23rd at the historic Tabernacle on Temple Square in downtown Salt Lake City. This 32-member handbell choir concert will feature some of your favorite holiday songs, A Charlie Brown Christmas, Joy to the World, Sleigh Bells, and many more. This is a free concert, but tickets are required. Log on to thetabernaclechoir.org. That's thetabernaclechoir.org to claim your free tickets. The Bells at Temple Square Annual Fall Concert, A Season of Ringing, November 22nd and 23rd. Get your free tickets now at thetabernaclechoir.org.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Ricky Meeks.
Unusual delays southbound I-15 approaching and passing 4500 south. I don't have an accident reported. I can't see anything in the cameras. Just expect slowing. And then we have debris being cleared. This is at the on-ramp from California Avenue to go southbound I-215's West Belt. They are blocking a right lane of travel. Ricky Meese, the KSL Traffic Center.
Sunny but cool, highs in the 40s today and tomorrow. A warming trend will peak on Monday with highs in the 60s. 45 degrees and sunny right now. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Well, a lot of the headlines over the past several months have been about polling, who's going to get it right, who's going to get it wrong. And sometimes we have to think again about what we think we know when it comes to polling. But what if you know the guy who seems to always get it right? Let's begin.
Think you know the news of the day? Think again with Boyd Matheson on KSL News Radio.
I was going to have some really smart aleck music to play for Chris Steyerwalt, of course, contributing editor at the Dispatch, senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, politics editor for News Nation, and most important, co-host of the Ink-Stained Wretches podcast, as well as author of Broken News, a book on media and politics, and one of our favorite guests on this show over the years. And I just want to remind everybody, some people just get it right, and some people get it right with confidence. If you go back to 2020, it was Chris Steyerwalt making the call and being right in the end, highly criticized for making a call that was absolutely right. And as I sat here on election night on Tuesday of this week and watched Chris and the team at News Nation and Decision Desk HQ several hours before anyone else would go there, said with great confidence and certainty and absolute accuracy that this was going to be a President-elect Donald Trump night. And Chris joins us on the show. Chris, welcome back.
Too much praise, Boyd. Too much praise.
Not enough,
you go
man.
Too far.
Yeah, you could have dropped the mic several times on Tuesday night, and you showed great restraint, which is why we love you. But give us a little bit of a breakdown of what you were seeing, because you saw this in 2020, and you saw what was coming, and you always go to the facts and the process. But just kind of walk us through election night this year, and what was it that gave you that confidence, and 2 hours plus before any other network was willing to say, yep, this thing is over?
Well, first, let me say
no secret sauce. You don't have to share that. Yeah.
So, no. Let me first say I'm very happy to be with you because they told me that you're hanging up the golden microphone and getting you're no longer going to be my competitor. So I want to congratulate you on doing a good show and talking to people about stuff that matters and doing it in a dispassionate, reasonable way, and I think that's all really good stuff. So kudos to you, sir.
Well, we appreciate that. Give us the breakdown.
the way that elections go is that Americans we live in a very diverse, very different, a country marked by many differences. I'm talking to you right now. I'm in Florida, and I live in the District of Columbia, and you live in Utah. You could hardly pick three more demographically different places than those three places. But when they move in a direction, they tend to move in the same direction. The shift in the swing states from 2020 to 2024 was about 3 points. The swing states got about 3 points more Republican. In all the other states, and this does really speak to the effectiveness of Kamala Harris and her campaign, in all the other states, if you take the swing states out of it, the country got 7 points more Republican from 2020 to 2024. So they did well to more than have their disadvantage with their focus on the swing states. A long way of saying, when the breeze blows, it blows. And we knew very well that there were three scenarios. One was that the polls were right. Then the other two scenarios were that they were wrong, but that the error would go in Donald Trump's favor or that the error would go in Kamala Harris's favor. And the polls were they did not give up their secrets, right? Polling this year was not bad.
Yeah.
It was they didn't miss some blowout race. This seems like a big win for Republicans for Republicans. I understand why it seems like a big win, because compared to their win in 2016, to get what looks like they'll have a popular vote victory and to win those 7 states again, but do it in more commanding fashion feels like a big win. But this is not, 1988 or 1984. It's not 1996. It's not even 2008, right? No new states came in. But it was decisive, most certainly decisive. And early in the night, so the research indicated, the polling indicated that it was an electorate that Kamala Harris could win, given the age, composition, gender composition, the ethnicity. Looked like, this is an electorate that she can win. So we start to get the first votes in, and you start to recalibrate. Okay, well, if these folks are going that way and those folks are going that way, how's this going to work out? Until about 9 o'clock Eastern, it looked like the polls might be right. It might be the least likely option, which is that it was going to be a tie race, and I was going to get to spend Thanksgiving in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, hanging chads. And then about 8:30 or 9 o'clock, it became very clear that it was option B, which was the polls were wrong and Donald Trump was understated yet again. And by about, we'll see when the final tally comes in, but looks like be a couple points, right? 2 or 3 points, maybe more, but that's about how much he was understated in 2020. So he replicated that performance. And once that's clear, you can reweight the polls, and the guys at Decision Desk HQ are just fantastic. You can reweight the polls and start to build your projections out, and then it goes pretty fast after that.
Fascinating stuff. Behind the curtain there with Chris Steyerwalt. Chris, just in our last minute here, one of the things that you have talked about and written about at the Dispatch was kind of this knowledge problem versus problems of the heart when it comes to the polling component. Just give us a quick snapshot of what that is and what we should all be thinking about and looking for moving forward.
Polling is really helpful for things that are not important. If you want to know what people think about candy apple versus caramel apples, if you want to know how people like their new Audis, if you want to know that stuff, polling is great. But we live in a Republican democracy, and polling creates the false sensation among the people and among our leaders that there is a true zeitgeist. There's a real will of the people that could be possibly reflected in governance. But that's not the system we have. We have a system that is not really representative. We have a House of Representatives, but really what we do is we endow leaders with these extraordinary authorities under the Constitution and then look to them to be good custodians, right? We look to them to be wise. We look for them to be moderating. We look for them to be decent. And that's the way it goes. And there's a false belief in this populist age that just somehow, if we could tap into what the people really wanted, then we would be happy and prosperous and everything would be good. But the people don't even really know what they want. And I used in that column you're referring to the example of the Afghanistan withdrawal.
Yeah.
People wanted an Afghan withdrawal, understandably. We'd been in the country for 12 or 13 years. People were over it. And they said they wanted it. And when the foreseeable thing happened, which was that the withdrawal was a catastrophe, people said they didn't want it anymore. And that's okay, because that's not their job. That's the president of the United States' job. And not to say that presidents or senators should be disconnected entirely from the will of the people, but they should provide their best service, best judgment, and best character, not just be a finger to the wind.
Yeah, so important. Great analysis, great insight, as always. The great Chris Steyerwalt, contributing editor at the Dispatch, and just one of our favorites over the years. And, Chris, we continue to watch and rely on you for great insight as we move it all forward. Thanks for making time for us today.
Congratulations, Boyd. Well done.
All right. Again, that's Chris Steyerwalt. joining us on the line as always. And that's important stuff in terms of how we go about this process, and that we do not want leaders and stewards to just have their finger in the wind and be relying just on the poll. No, we make those decisions, then we expect them to do their best effort, to do real work, to put forward solutions, to play those out with transparency, and then we can look at it and decide if that's what we want more of or something we want less of. But not just to sit there and put your finger in the wind. That's not what this is about. And so we have to take a look at that in terms of where do we go from here and how do we make that. But I, again, will give Chris a shout out. 2 cycles in a row, he has been the leader when it comes to calling the election, even in the face of a lot of opposition back to 2020. But that's what political courage looks like, and what you do when you know you're confident that you have a disciplined process to deliver the right results. We'll be right back.
Think again on Inside Sources with Boyd Matheson. The White House goes to Donald Trump. The Senate flips to Republicans, but the U.S. House and control of Congress is still a question.
Several outstanding races just too close to call.
The shape of the nation to come is still a question. We're updating the story with breaking information all week. Your Voice, Your Vote 2024 continues on KSL News Radio.
Steve, NPS is my favorite place to save money. It's called a nice place to save for a reason, because they have such great deals on everything from clothing to electronics to food. We like to do our grocery shopping before we hit the actual grocery store. We check and see what we can get. Sometimes, actually, I'm going to just be honest, every time I end up taking home things that I didn't expect to, but they're so perfectly priced that I can't say no to it.
And this is the thing that people need to understand is it's like 20 to 30 or 70% off on merchandise, and these are all brand new items. These are not returns, not a thrift store. This is a full-on retail store that just happens to get these containers full of product.
Yeah.
And then they put them on the shelves, and
and they price it to move. Here's the thing. You want to shop in the store more than once a week. They have daily flash sales. Sometimes they have something that's 70% off.
Yeah.
Each store has its own sale. So go more than once, because remember, too, when you go to NPS, if you snooze,
you lose.
And you don't want to do that. 4 locations, 2 in Salt Lake, 1 in Layton, and 1 in Orem.
In 2024, dating is a disaster. We've been ghosted, breadcrumbed, stuck in situationships. Hi, I'm Debbie. I'm Caitlin. Welcome to our new podcast, Dating at Her Age. Dating has been so dicey for us, we asked KSL, can we launch an all-new podcast about it?
People use these dating apps. You're not really dating when you're on the dating app.
Dating at Her Age, brought to you by Mountain Home Services. A new episode drops every Thursday on KSLNewsRadio.com.
It's Rivalry Week. Let KSL News Radio and Advanced Window Products get you ready for the big game at a special tailgate party. Join us this Friday from 3 to 6 at Chip Cookies in Fort Union. We'll be there with a special offer from Advanced Window Products. Factory direct, affordable windows. Call today. They're on their way. Friday from 3 to 6 at Chip Cookies in Fort Union with Advanced Windows. And your home for the rivalry game. KSL News Radio.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy 2. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
If you need bold banners to boost your business, but you're on a budget, think Staples. Because now at Staples, you can save up to $50 on your print purchase. From posters and flyers to signs and menus, Staples can print anything you need to move your business forward. And with Staples Print Perfect Guarantee, it's done right or it's printed again free. Plus, same-day service is available on hundreds of items if you order by noon. Get it printed right at Staples. And now get up to $50 off your print purchase. N76, visit staples.com/print for details.
Join Mike Stevens of Capital Wealth Advisors for Retire Right Radio, Saturdays at 5 a.m. and 9 p.m. That's Retire Right Radio with Mike Stevens, Saturdays at 5 a.m. and 9 p.m.
Hear elevated conversation on crucial issues. Boyd Matheson on Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. Great to be with you today. As always, I am Boyd Matheson as we continue to look at the aftermath of the 2024 election cycle. As we promised, Wednesday morning came. Now we're on our way to Thursday. And, of course, on part of the component is everyone pointing fingers and placing blame in terms of what went wrong in the Harris campaign. The Republicans are maybe spiking the football prematurely in a host of other places. But the thing we want to get to is, what does this really mean for the future of our constitutional republic? And what kind of realignment, what kind of adjustments are going to be made by both of these political parties and the leaders themselves moving forward? It's one of those where I felt with the first the Biden campaign and then the Harris campaign was they were not in alignment with the American people. They were touting things that they thought were successes, and it was not what the American people were feeling. So there was a little bit of a disconnect. We're talking about some political realignment, what that really means, and always a great gift to the show when we get Jonah Goldberg, editor-in-chief, co-founder of The Dispatch, joining us on the program. And Jonah, we appreciate you making time for us coming down the stretch. Did we lose Jonah? I think we've lost him. All right. Well, we'll try to get Jonah back on the line here. He had a great piece in the Dispatch talking about a different kind of realignment coming out of the election cycle. Did we get him back? All right. We got Jonah back on the line. Gremlins in the system today, Jonah, and just the aftermath of the election. I think even the phone lines are a little exhausted. Give us a sense in terms of your observations coming out of the first Tuesday and Wednesday of November and some possible realignment.
Sure. And first of all, two things. One, please don't punish the staff over there. It was my fat finger that hit the mute button on my phone. And second, I just want to say, just in case we get cut off, I want to congratulate you on just being a great service to the public and all your work on the radio. And I want to thank you for it. So in terms of, the election, where to begin? I think, this always happens after election where things that seemed cloudy and unknowable and unknown all of a sudden become much more clear in retrospect.
Yeah.
And then some things that people think are clear now are in fact not true, but we can get to that in a second.
Yeah.
I think one of the best consequences of the horrible inflation that we've had in the last few years is that the political class, particularly on the left, now really understands how terrible inflation was and how terrible inflation is. There was a time, not very long ago, where a lot of people on the left were talking about this thing called modern monetary theory. And they were saying that inflation wasn't a real problem. We didn't have to worry about it. We could print all the money we wanted. We could do, a giant $2 trillion coin to pay off the debt, all of this nonsense. And there was even, some left-wing historians who were saying that the inflation concerns of the 1970s weren't really about inflation and gas lines or high prices or anything like that. It was all really just unease with women's liberation and civil rights that made people think society was going out of control, which is, of course, nonsense. And so, anyway, that idea is just dead, and that's a good thing. We've learned from experience because inflation it's kind of like political bone cancer.
Yeah,
it saps strength and vigor from all of the economy, from people's normal lives. People are poorer today in real terms than they were 3 years ago. And denying that reality or pointing to very sound arguments about the overall health of the economy don't resonate with people who are paying, twice as much for hamburger than they were 3 years ago. And I think that those sorts of fundamentals were really underappreciated, I think in part because a lot of the people in my line of work weren't feeling inflation the way a lot of normal people were. And then you add in some other factors that, I think Harris was a bad candidate. I don't think she ran necessarily a bad campaign given their assumptions about where the electorate was and all that. But she was a bad candidate for this moment because she still got stuck with the
the association with the incumbency of the current administration, and she was a bad candidate because she didn't know how to break from Joe Biden. So she got all the blame that was heaped at Joe Biden and couldn't sell herself as a change candidate. She just cannot speak blue collar. She cannot, like telling people, well, I grew up middle class in the Bay Area is not a way of assuring people that she knows what they're dealing with. It doesn't lend any heft to her really paltry kind of policy proposals that people felt like they couldn't believe from this administration because they've been saying this stuff for 3 years. And, she talks like she's she's running for faculty senate chair, and she speaks the language of sort of the wine track of the Democratic Party. And that's just not, just doesn't work with the blue collar crowd. It doesn't work. She can't speak Bubba. She can't do any of that kind of stuff. And Donald Trump, for all his flaws, can.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
You can point, one of the things that's useful about for Democrats, if they decide to learn the right lessons from this, is that you can't say, oh, if she only picked Josh Shapiro, she would have won, because she didn't just lose Pennsylvania.
Right.
She lost all of the swing states, right? And so a lot of the finger pointing that you could normally use to scapegoat, an individual politician or whatever, gets swept up in this much more sweeping fundamental thing. And I think the most telling and interesting thing, which I think is, look, I assume listeners know, but if they don't, I'm not a big fan of Donald Trump. I wasn't a big fan of Kamala Harris either, but I think Trump is different in part because I'm a conservative and I don't like the way he is rebranding conservatism. But I think it is an unalloyed good thing that he did so well with Hispanics. And he really did remarkably well. I mean, I think in Starr County, Texas, the most Hispanic county in America, like 96% Hispanic.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton carried that county by 60 points in 2016. Trump carried it by 16 points in 2024. That's a 76-point swing. And there were similar, not as big, but there were similar swings in New Jersey, in Nevada. I think he split the Hispanic vote in Nevada, which is amazing. And the reason why I think this is a good thing is it profoundly undermines the theory of politics that the left has had for a very long time, that all you had to do was say you were the voice of, the avatar of the non-white vote, of non-white Americans, of the coalition of the oppressed, right? Therefore, that like non-white people had to vote Democrat because there was something congenital at birth about not being white that made you vote for progressives. And that's all been shattered now.
Right.
And I think that's a good thing. I don't necessarily think it's a lasting thing. It's very possible that Trump could lose a lot of the voters he won over. And that gets to the other point, and I promise I'll shut up, which is simply that there are a lot of Trump people who are so triumphant right now. They're making the same mistake in reverse.
Yes.
They're making this sort of mistake that they think that every single person who voted for Trump will be supportive of Trump no matter what he does. And that makes no sense. Look, there were a lot of people who voted for Joe Biden who then turned on him when he screwed up pulling out of Afghanistan.
Right.
There were a lot of people who voted for Donald Trump who turned their back on him after January 6th. The idea that electorates are frozen in amber and are going to be permanent fixtures of the political landscape is folly. The Trump, the new Trump administration, I wish it well. I wish it well for the good of the country.
Yeah.
But if they work on the assumption that now Trump has a mandate to just indulge himself in any way he wants, he's going to see, lots of public support from people who say this isn't what I voted for.
Yeah, that realignment will continue to realign as the results come in. Jonah Goldberg, editor-in-chief, co-founder of the Dispatch, always one of our favorites on the program, and we'll continue to watch, we'll continue to read and learn as we go along. Jonah, thanks so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, that's Jonah Goldberg from the Dispatch, always worth reading. Regardless of where you fall on the political spectrum, he will make you think. He'll make you think again about what you think you know, and that's why we do this show. We'll be right back.
It's 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. The Utah Division of Professional Licensing has handed out about $130,000 in fines, mostly to construction companies who hired unlicensed contractors. Chief Investigator Bob Main says there were 77 citations in all.
In those cases, we take action as far as administrative, and then we refer them to law enforcement in hope that law enforcement will take up the case. We also let them know that we'd be willing to testify in any criminal proceeding and work with law enforcement.
They conducted the crackdown in October after getting complaints about jobs being abandoned. Maine says licensed construction professionals are less likely to defraud consumers. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says he spoke with President-elect Trump today about Trump's thoughts on the war in his country. Here's ABC's Patrick Reevell.
President Zelensky has also spoken to Donald Trump already. He called him to congratulate him. In a speech today, he said, though, that peace cannot be won through showing weakness, and he called for Ukraine to be reinforced.
Former President Trump said during the campaign that he could stop the war between Russia and Ukraine in a single day. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average closing trading today down, but just less than 1 point. And the NASDAQ is up 285 points today. The S&P 500 was up 44. And our KSL weather looks like sunshine, but it'll stay cool with highs in the 40s. That's next. KSL News Time, 2:32.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Already, Dee and I have two very special events planned for Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. We've got a birthday and we've got an anniversary to celebrate. And of course, it just wouldn't be a grand celebration without Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. And sometimes, too, you just need, not want, you need the perfectly cooked steak. Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, nobody does it better. And it's prepared exactly the way you want it. Now, Dee, she likes her steak a little more well done than I do. I like mine medium. I like ribeye. She likes hers a filet, and sometimes they will butterfly it so it's cooked absolutely to her taste. Then those side dishes are off the charts. The dessert, you've got to save room for dessert when you're going to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. This is the time, just like Dee and I have done, make your reservation. Celebrate that great occasion at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, downtown Salt Lake City, and of course, Hotel Park City.
You know what? I think the holidays are the worst time of year for your furnace to go out. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and every November it feels like people get extra stressed when faced with the need to replace their furnace. The money they've been saving is supposed to go to Christmas, and now they're faced with a choice: Christmas or comfort. This holiday season, Any Hour Services wants to help alleviate some of that stress with our special holiday financing. No money down and no payments until next year. Plus, if you schedule a free estimate before the end of November, Any Hour Services will give you $2,500 off any full system you buy. And that doesn't even factor in the rebates and incentives you might qualify for. Again, during the month of November, Any Hour Services will give you $2,500 off any furnace and air conditioner you buy. And you can take advantage of our special holiday financing with no money down and no payments until next year. For more details, call Any Hour Services and schedule a free estimate. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates. This weekend only, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandswimspasale.com.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
We do have a crash reported in Weber County, southbound 1900 west at Riverdale Road, blocking a couple of left lanes of travel. Also, left lanes blocked due to an accident in Ogden. This is Harrison Boulevard at about 48th South, 48th Street. You'll see that the right lane of traffic is getting through, but quite slowly. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Sunny but cool, highs in the 40s today and tomorrow. Then a warming trend, peaks on Monday with highs in the 60s. And right now, 45 degrees and sunny. I'm Dan Bomis from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson on Utah's home for elevated conversation. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. It's great to be with you today. As always, I am Boyd Matheson. As we look at the fallout from the election on Tuesday, I promised you that Wednesday morning would come, and it did. Why? Because the American people brought it here. And everyone got up and went to work. You're raising your kids. You're making a difference in your community. You're helping a neighbor in need. And that's the magic secret sauce of America. And for some, it's been a little bit of a stinging couple of days. Those who invested a great deal of effort and energy. We listened to President Biden this morning in one of his best speeches. I always say these concession-type speeches are often the best. I think one of the best speeches Mitt Romney ever gave was his concession to Barack Obama in 2012. Hillary Clinton, one of her most powerful speeches was her concession speech. I think both Kamala Harris, the vice president, and President Biden have delivered powerful and important speeches over the last 24 hours. And so we want to break that down and look at that path forward. Really thrilled to have joining us in studio today. This is a super treat. We have Reverend Teresa Deer. Of course, she's a national board member of the NAACP and a Deseret News contributor. And Reverend Deer, I know you came straight from the airport, so welcome back to the Beehive State. We're glad you're here today.
It's such an honor to be here with you, Boyd. Beautiful day in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, and you're one of those who have spent the last couple of months really working hard for the Harris campaign in your home state of Illinois. You've been over to Wisconsin, so you know some of the things that President Biden was talking about this morning of, hey, this losing stings. This is hard.
Yeah, losing hurts. And, since the day that she announced, I have been supporting the Vice President Harris campaign, and it has been one of the greatest honors of my life. I worked on both of President Obama's campaigns, but this was different. To see a woman in a campaigning position was and is aspirational. Yeah. And so, of course, the lose is a gut punch. Yeah. And, I would say that the place that I am today, I was sort of, responding and helping other folks yesterday. Mm-hmm. And I felt depleted and drained last night. Yeah. And so on the flight here, I could not really understand what I was feeling. And then I realized that I'm grieving. Mm-hmm. And not so much the loss, but I am grieving. And some people may not get this, but I am grieving for humanity. Mm. And for me, that's always been at the core of who I am and what I do and what I support. And so the vision of Vice President Harris for this country was one that would help the disenfranchised and help those who don't have access to the American dream to have that experience. And so I see those things as potential losses to this country. Yeah. Now, there are some things with President Trump that I agree with. I agree with his immigration policy. But I just hope and pray to God that what we have seen and what I have read in Project 2025 is a document on a shelf And that's something that will be enacted in this country.
Yeah. And there's so many things, I think, in those emotions that I think you just described emotions of a lot of people. And not just at the presidential level, a lot of local races that were super tight and super hard. I always say you learn more about a person in defeat than you do in victory.
Yes.
Victory covers a multitude of sins and a lot of problems. We always say cash flow covers the multitudes of problems in a business. And sometimes in ourselves we see that. I think we learned a lot about President Biden and Vice President Harris in the messages of hope that they talked about.
Absolutely.
And that we are going to get up. I loved when Vice President Harris said, this is not time to throw up your hands. It's time to roll up your sleeves. And so let's talk about the path forward. How do we start? How do we reconnect in terms of community? Because I think that's what leads this nation.
Yes.
How do we get back to that kind of hope, regardless of who's in the marbled halls in Washington, D.C.?
Right. Great question. So, there are things that we all have in common, from a political, policy, personal perspective. As an example, we all want a safe America, right? And that's one of the reasons that I agree with President Biden's immigration policy. But the how is another question altogether. So we want safety in the country. We want safety in our community. We want people in our community employed, right? Because people that are unemployed, have different enticements of which they can respond to. I think everybody wants to know their neighbor in a way that they can come together and work in the community. I think everybody wants to build one another up. I don't think people wake up every day and say, I want to be a bully, or I want to marginalize somebody today. That is not the norm of America. I think that people in America, for the most part, want to see good, they want to do good, and they want to influence good. And I think that, one of the things that this defeat and victory will bring to us is opportunities to have conversations about how we come together.
Yeah. We were reflecting on the election of Thomas Jefferson. Flawed in so many ways, brilliant in so many ways, complicated in so many ways. In his first inaugural address, which many people say that is still one of the nastiest and most divisive elections in our country's history, the papers of the day said that it could lead to a riot or a new revolution.
Sure.
And yet he showed up dressed as an ordinary citizen. I love that. He left the ceremonial sword at home, also significant. But then he said, we need to come together and we need to make sure we understand that not every difference of opinion is necessarily a difference of principle. We can believe in those same principles, and you may have an idea of how we get there policy-wise. I may believe something different, but if we respect the dignity of that difference, then we can get to a different place.
Yeah, and I honor the opportunities of conversation to explore differences. And it's not a matter of bringing one person on one side or the other, but exploring what influences the way you think. What were your experiences? What are the traditions in your culture that influence you to think this way? And so, I'm hopeful for America. And at the end of the day, this is not to offend anybody, but regardless of who occupies the White House, God is still in control. And so I think that we all live for hope. Every day we're looking for those hopeful opportunities. And I think it starts with a conversation.
It does start with a conversation. And you have been a master of that throughout your career and throughout your life, of getting into some unique conversations, some that people would say, well, that's not normal, or wow, there's a wow moment. And you've been part of those. You and I first met in Detroit, Michigan.
Yes.
Standing in front of the statue of Joe Louis at Joe Louis Arena, when President Russell M. Nelson of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was going into a place where some people said, now that's different.
Yes.
But that different conversation that you were a part of has made a bigger difference than anything that's going to happen in the White House in the last 4 years or the next 4 years.
That's exactly right. Yeah. that relationship, as you said, started with the conversation. And because, we both came together, the two entities and organizations, the church and the NAACP, we now have been able to impact not just communities, but generations as it relates to things like, managing debt, how to respond to the unemployment market, how to secure a job, how to create a budget for your family. I mean, some of the things that our communities have learned as a result of this, intertwined and God-bonded initiative, it has a generational impact. And I'm grateful. And you're absolutely right. You can take opposites and bring them together and come up with something that's unique, that's new, that's different, but more importantly, that's impressionable and impactful.
Yeah. We talk about binding up the wounds of the nation. I love the way you frame that. God-binded opportunities to have different kind of conversations. Reverend Teresa, dear, you are a gift. We love you on this show. We love you in this state. And you've been a dear friend and a great contributor to some crucial conversations, surprising conversations, elevating conversations. And thanks for making time for us on a busy day.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you, and God be with you on your next level.
All right. Awesome. We'll step aside for one last break. We'll come back with some final thoughts on Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. Stick around. We'll be right back. And now a minute of kindness brought to you by One Kind Act a Day. Jessica Lowe was in culinary school, and she was shocked at how much food was getting thrown away at the end of each class. So one day after class, Jessica brought some food to a group of unhoused people who stayed near the school. This small act of kindness sparked a revolution in Jessica as she became the founder of Be a Little Too Kind, a charity that brings food to the homeless. Each Wednesday, Jessica can be found in her kitchen preparing over 120 hot meals and 120 sack lunches to hand out on Thursdays. She provides a safe place and a warm meal for all her homies, as she likes to call them. All started because she saw a need and filled that need with kindness. It just takes one kind act a day. Find out more about how you can be involved online at thepowerofkind.org. That's thepowerofkind.org.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. Did you know that we offer 3 distinct styles of gutter protection? Each one meant to handle a specific leaf problem. You might not even know there are different styles of gutter protection, but there are. And if you pick the wrong one, it could be a huge waste of money. Now, the big gutter guard companies won't tell you this. They try to sell you a one-size-fits-all gutter guard. And it could be completely wrong for the amount and types of trees and leaves you have. Not RGS Exteriors. We understand which kind of leaf problem needs which kind of gutter guard. We'll do an in-depth evaluation to assess the types, locations, and numbers of trees in your yard. Based on that data, we match your home to the right gutter guard. So don't risk wasting money on the wrong gutter protection. For a free evaluation and estimate, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's 801-280-3110 or rgsexteriors.com.
I'm Bob Burke, founder and chairman of Burke America Parts Group, a family of brands that includes RepairClinic.com, an appliance and HVAC parts solution company that's grown into an international brand. Before AmericanEagle.com, we partially launched a new technology platform developed by another firm. American Eagle helped take our technology to a whole new level with digital marketing, software development, and business insights into our key markets, appliances, HVAC, and outdoor power equipment, and did so both on time and on budget. AmericanEagle.com has the resources, experience, and talent needed to produce solutions. Our new technology platform, developed by AmericanEagle.com, has produced tremendous results with higher traffic, conversion, engagement, and online revenue. If you have any home repairs you need to take care of, check us out at RepairClinic.com. If you need a world-class website or technology project, then I would highly recommend AmericanEagle.com.
Call AmericanEagle.com at 773-NETWORK. That's AmericanEagle.com, 773-NETWORK.
At Common Spirit Health, we know that lifelong health and well-being starts with primary care. So we have doctors and providers who see you, hear you, know you, and understand you. Because understanding you means understanding your needs. And that leads to a deeper knowledge of the prevention, wellness, and treatment options that may be best for you. It's primary care that treats your whole family like family. It's primary care with human kindness. Discover all the ways you can find and connect with a primary care provider at mountain.commonspirit.org.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer? Can we sleep cooler? Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. And now, during our Veterans Day sale, save 40% on the Sleep Number Special Edition smart bed, plus free home delivery with any base. Ends Monday. To learn more, go to sleepnumber.com.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates. This weekend only, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Hi, my name is Kendon Holdaway, and I work for the National Kidney Foundation of Utah and Idaho. Before that, I worked as a dialysis technician at the largest dialysis center in Utah. And before that, I was diagnosed with chronic kidney disease at age 14. However, I am one of the lucky ones. I have an amazing mother who gave me a second chance. She donated her kidney to me, and it changed my life. Thanks to her and a scholarship from the Kidney Foundation, I was able to graduate college, get married, and apply to medical school in hopes of becoming a doctor. Sadly, there are many who are not as lucky as I am. Every car you donate to towcars.org gives hope and help to 3,000 patients like me, many of whom are still waiting for their miracle. Towing is free and donations are tax deductible. Keep donations local by donating online at towkars.org. That's towcars with a K, like kidney.
Don't let cold season make you miserable. Try the quick, drug-free solution for nasal congestion, Navage. Navage uses gentle suction to flush out your sinuses with refreshing saline, helping you breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier all winter long. And here's even better news. Navage is now available at select Costco locations in a great new value pack. It's everything you need to start breathing better fast. Check out Navage at your local Costco today. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Breathe easy.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the state of Utah has been out looking for unlicensed contractors and issuing citations and fines. Second, the president of Ukraine had a conversation with President-elect Trump about the ongoing war in his country. Third, yesterday's explosion and fire at a home in South Jordan left a 15-year-old dead. 45 degrees and sunny in Salt Lake City. Back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Boyd Matheson divides rage from reason on Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. It is great to be with you today. As always, I am Boyd Matheson. And as we round out the program today, today's program is really why we do this show every day. And this is one of those days, if you missed anything, you got to go to kslpodcast.com and check out the segments today. We had all of our favorite friends on today. Eric Boehm from Reason, James Wallner from R Street. We had Chris Steyerwalt, who has to be declared the winner of Election Day 2024 as he, hours before anyone else, made the prediction on all the races as it relates to the White House. Got it all right once again. Jonah Goldberg also joined us from the Dispatch, one of the great writers and thinkers, and we just had a beautiful segment with Teresa Deer, Reverend Teresa Deer from Chicago area, and she has been out about on the campaign trail for the Harris campaign and talking through that process of going through a little grieving and a little mourning, and then getting to mourning, to Wednesday morning and now Thursday morning. And we also talked about the speech that President Biden delivered today, which I think was one of his best. You learn a lot about a person and what they say in defeat, not just what they say in victory. And we tag teamed that with Vice President Harris's address from yesterday. And I will echo her words that this is not a time for anybody, whether you felt like a winner or a loser coming out of Election Day. It's not time to throw your hands up. It's time to roll your sleeves up. And it's time for all of us to link arms once again and get back to work. And what is the work? It's the work that we choose to do together as citizens of this great country. It's the things that we do in our neighborhoods and our communities every day. Hope does not come from some act that's passed in Congress and signed by a president. Hope and confidence in the future is not the result of some committee hearing. It's not a result of what happens on cable news. It's not happens by what is pulling up on your social media feed. None of that. It's what we choose to do together. It's why the Constitution begins, we the people. And what will we do together? Our shared project? We're going to form a more perfect union. Not a perfect union, but a more perfect union. We're on a path. And as long as we continue to link and lock arms, as long as we refuse to allow the differences to be magnified by those who want to make money and amass power for political purposes, we're going to be okay, folks. And regardless how you feel about the outcome of Election 2024, it's time to look at the income in terms of hope that we will bring to one another and that we'll create together in the days ahead. I want to round out the program today with something from 1893. We've shared this on the program before. I think it's most appropriate today. 3 years before Utah became a state, the Salt Lake Temple was completed, 40 years in construction. There was a dedicatory prayer offered, as is custom on such buildings, by Wilford Woodruff, then president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And astonishingly, surprisingly, at the end of that prayer, there's a section on politics. He said in addressing, he said, "O God, thou seest the course thy people have been led in political matters. They have in many instances joined the two great national parties. Campaigns have been entered upon, elections have been held, and much party feeling has been engendered. Many things have been said and done which have wounded the feelings of the humble and the meek, and which have been a cause of offense." He then asked for mercy, for forgiveness. He said, "Enable thy people hereafter to avoid bitterness and strife and refrain from words and acts in political discussions that create negative feelings and grieve the spirit." I can't think of anything more appropriate. Yes, it was said in 1893, 3 years before we became a state. And I hope all of us today will refrain from words and acts in political discussions that create negative feelings and prevent us from having hope in the future that we create together. I'm Boyd Matheson. Thanks for joining us today on Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. As always, as you go out into the world today, make sure you see something that inspires, say something that uplifts, and do something that makes a difference.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL FM Midvale, KSL Salt Lake City.